all, welcome back to my channel. I am Coach Michelle Mills. I'm known as the Eczema Coach, and today I want to teach you all about Candida overgrowth and how that might be impacting your eczema. So diving right in, let's start with the question, what is Candida? So Candida is an overgrowth of a yeast. And this yeast is very opportunistic and has likely overgrown for multiple reasons. So diving into the reasons that you might have developed a Candida overgrowth in the first place are a use of antibiotics. You may have eaten very, very highly processed foods. You may have had a pretty extreme hormone change, or you may have had a very stressful life event. All of those can kind of shift our gut microbiome towards the negative side, killing off our good guys and allowing for opportunistic things like Candida to overgrow. Now, what do I mean by opportunistic? It basically means, well, we can use an analogy that I always use with my clients. Imagine a plot of land and someone has just gone through and taken out all the trees and shrubs off of this piece of land. So now the wolves and the deer have no place to live. What's going to then populate? You're going to have a very large population of cockroaches or mice or whatever. And the same thing occurs inside of our gut. So when we take antibiotics, it's getting rid of a whole host of microbes versus just targeting the ones that you technically need to target. It is not targeted. And so it's killing off our good and our bad microbes, leaving things like Candida, strep, staph, E. coli, all the above to overgrow and use this as an opportunity to create a larger community. So in my years of coaching people with eczema and having eczema myself and Candida myself, I have a lot of information that I think you're going to find really useful. And one of the things is where your eczema is located and the connection to a gut imbalance. So in my years of helping people, I've always noticed if people have eczema on their skin folds, inside of elbows, backs of knees, in the folds of their neck, armpits, that is a huge indication of some sort of gut imbalance. And around the mouth and around the eyes. I will caveat this with saying if your eyes have been swelling a lot, that can also be an indication of a histamine intolerance on top of some sort of gut imbalance. Now, as far as gut imbalances go, we are specifically talking about Candida today, but the knowledge that you're going to gain here can be applied to a lot of different imbalances. And why that is a lot of opportunistic microbes love the same things and hate the same things. So as I walk you through the protocols, you'll kind of see a pattern, and it will apply to a lot of different types of opportunistic microbes. Now, as far as testing, I personally have found it not super effective. There are stool tests and there are blood test. If you're going to get a stool test done, you're going to need to take a biofilm enzyme first. Now, I'm going to walk you through my 3-step protocol, and you'll understand biofilm a little bit more at that time, but just listen to me and then I'll explain later. When you take a biofilm enzyme, it will actually allow for some of that Candida to be exited out of the body in stool. If you haven't taken that, it's likely that if you have a Candida overgrowth, it's not coming out in your stool, which is kind of why a blood test is a little bit more accurate, seeing if the immune system has marked for Candida. But a lot of doctors that I have listened to and read their information say that even those are just not that effective. And sometimes when you're dealing with gut imbalances, symptom tracking is a lot more effective than trying to use testing and track through testing. Basically what that means is we have a symptom of this, so going into the symptoms of Candida, brain fog is a huge symptom, along with fatigue, so getting tired very quickly in the day, basically having absolutely zero energy. That's something I personally went through myself. Then some other symptoms are wanting to eat after you just ate, or craving something sugary after you just ate, And or it's having a huge craving and a huge sweet tooth and craving for either sweet foods or high starchy foods, like having a high craving for potato chips, oats, rice, like having a very strong addiction to those foods is an indication that you have a gut imbalance and it might be Candida. Now, like I said, it's important, but it's not 100% critical that we know whether it's strep, staph, Candida, whatever, because when you're healing from this naturally, they all kind of go away very similarly as Candida does. So moving on to the protocol, in my 3-step protocol for healing from Candida naturally, the very first step is taking a biofilm enzyme. You want to take this with a binder like chlorella to prevent die-off symptoms. So chlorella is not tolerated by all people, especially not all people with eczema, so be careful and test it before you just go on and implement it. But a biofilm enzyme, one of my favorite enzymes for this is serrapeptase. And my friend actually just released a supplement line that has serrapeptase in it. Her brand name is Medici, and I'll link it in the description down below. But it doesn't only have serrapeptase, but it has a lot more enzymes that have been scientifically connected to the ability to break down biofilm. Now, what is a biofilm? When you have a community of an opportunistic microbe like Candida, they will essentially plastic wrap themselves to protect them from you. They want to survive. They don't want you to kill them off. They don't want the other bacteria or microbes to kill them off. And so they create a biofilm as protection. If it has a biofilm and you're going in with an herbal antifungal or eating foods that are antifungal, it's not really going to get to the community in the way that you want it to. So taking a biofilm enzyme dissolves the biofilm, exposing that community of Candida so that you can then target it. So the second phase is when we target the Candida with an herbal antifungal like Scram by Health Force. That's one of my favorite ones. The bottle will tell you to take 12 a day. I only ever had my clients take up to 4. It's just not necessary to take that, maximum 6. And you take it, I used to take 2 with lunch, 2 with dinner, and that was enough. But Scram is an herbal antifungal. And some amazing antifungals are caprylic acid, found in coconut oil, oregano oil, grapefruit seed extract, black walnut, clove. A lot of these are really, really powerful for getting rid of Candida naturally. It also really helps, especially oregano oil, with other sort of imbalances like I'm mentioning. The third phase, when your symptoms finally start to let up, is when you can then include prebiotics and probiotics into your gut so that you're repopulating all of the good guys, or if we talk about that plot of land, the deer and the wolves, and this entire time you've basically been replanting the forest, you now have trees, and the probiotics, or the deer and the wolves, now have a place to live. So all the while you're doing this, an elimination diet that is very low in starch and sugar is very important. Some people will say to try the carnivore diet for Candida, which technically may work short term, but I like using diet strategically to actually kill off the Candida. So I really like bitter foods, so dark leafy greens, dandelion greens, fresh herbs, garlic, onion. I like cruciferous vegetables. I love all those things. I love salmon for gut health. And that whole thing is going to allow your gut to shift in a positive direction. And if you're not eating vegetables and a large variety of vegetables, you're not actually giving your gut any food to start to create and house the good bacteria. Long story with all of this, but essentially 3-phase process: biofilm, herbal antifungal, prebiotic, probiotic, and that is one of the best ways of getting through this entire process, because healing from Candida can be pretty difficult. As you're doing this, you're going to notice that the eczema that you have in the insides of your elbows or wherever is going to dry up and heal, hopefully. One thing I want you to keep in mind is you may need to work with a doctor and not just take this video as is, try to run with it. Every single person's body is really unique, so my disclaimer here is be very careful, and if this isn't working for you, it's not for you. You have to experiment to see what works, but this should help a lot of people. So please be cautious with this information and don't just take it blindly. The other thing I wanted to say is I developed a Candida course. So it's a 12-week long course, self-guided, where I teach you in detail about how hormones play into Candida, what is a biofilm with Candida, and work you through a 12-week long protocol where the diet basically builds every couple of weeks so that you add foods in strategically to prevent eczema flares or to prevent you feeding Candida before you're ready to repopulate your gut. So I'm going to put a link to that in the description down below. It's called the Candida course, and you can check that out. And please leave me any questions or comments below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!